You're listening to the Jōrni Podcast. Imagine technology so advanced it sounds impossible until you experience it for yourself. Join me for part 5 of the Ascend series to explore what's next in human healing. This episode contains adult subject matter and some listeners may be triggered by this content. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Jōrni Podcast. Welcome to our special Ascend series, episode 5. In this 5th part of the Ascend series, we look at how new frequencies and regenerative technologies are reshaping what healing can be. What once sounded like science fiction now meets the body's own intelligence in ways that are transformative and profound. Anaez, formerly Nate Zeleznick, is a globally recognized speaker, energy master, biometaphysics expert, and visionary healer. As the creator of the Integrated Ascension Method and co-founder of Ascended Living, Anaez bridges ancient Indonesian royal energy practices with modern neuroscience, biochemistry, and advanced frequency medicine, unlocking extraordinary levels of healing and human potential. Currently healing an inoperable brain tumor, which was reduced in size by 50% in just a few weeks, Anaez is using his own method, a fusion of breathwork, meditation, biohacking, supplementation, and the support of some of the world's most powerful biochemists and energy healers. Here is the 5th part of this extraordinary series, N for New Frequency Technologies with Anaez. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our special Ascend series. And joining me here today again is Anaez, formerly Nate Zeleznick, and we have part N of the Ascend series for you today, and for new frequency technologies. And I think we're both very excited to get into today's topic. Welcome, everyone, and welcome back, Anaez.
Petra, thank you so much. Everybody out there listening, good morning, evening, afternoon, good now. Wow, today is going to be an amazing topic, one that no one out there has heard of, that has really been miraculous for me and my healing of an inoperable brain tumor, which we'll talk a little bit more about. And I'm so happy, blessed, and honored to be able to share this with everyone, because I truly believe that this is the future of regeneration, of healing, and medicine.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I feel it's a topic that is not widely discussed, especially when we talk about mainstream medicine, mainstream healthcare. Especially when you and I first started talking, that was one of the first times I really heard some of these details. I can't wait for you to share more about this with our listeners. I feel this is such a crucial thing for them to hear. So thank you for coming and joining me again one more time for the series, and take it away.
Petra, thank you so much again. And for everyone out there, I don't know if you've ever had a situation where you really hit rock bottom with your health. Maybe it was someone that you love. They got a really terminal or a serious diagnosis, and it really puts us in a position of reevaluating what's important in our lives. And for me, in my case, on March 3rd this year at 2:17 p.m. Mountain Time, is when I got the news from a neurosurgeon that I have an inoperable brain tumor that they can't get to, they can't biopsy, there's nothing that they can do without either killing me or leaving me permanently disabled. So if you could just imagine for a minute what that would be like. I know nobody wants to think about it. In our life, we will have tissue issues, every single one of us. If any of you out there could name one person that you know is, say, 70, 80, 90 years old, that has had nothing go wrong with their body, please let me know. And that's the 1 in a billion, right? But we are all subject to the same rules of being in the 3D and being alive, that this body does have its limitations, and sometimes it gets attacked and sometimes it breaks down. With that in mind, the reality of the situation sunk in really deep with me very quickly, and it actually shattered my ego to the point where I consider it, I was forced, because I feel my higher self forced me into this position to understand what's really important. And before that, I've spent over 38,000 hours in meditation, martial arts training, teaching, publicly presenting, helping other people. This has been my life for now going on 27 years, more than full time. And yet, when I got this news, every single thing that I thought I had worked out, that I thought I'd done the shadow work on, that I thought that I was clear of, came right to the forefront and smacked me in the forehead. If you could just imagine what that's like, where everything becomes resentments, my illusions, my delusions, my contusions, my confusions, my judgments, and my ego. And it wasn't very long before those things started falling away quickly as I started to really pay attention to what is real and what's really important. And it wasn't any of those things that I thought. Those were just really illusions. And as I got deeper into myself, and it only took a few hours, man, granted, I was in a meditation, calming my nervous system down. Because once you get news like this, obviously there's some excitation of the entire system going, oh, okay, great. Now what? What am I going to do with this? Sitting in my meditation, I got this still, quiet voice come into my head that said, you got this, Anaez, you got this. You've been teaching people how to heal for decades. Now it's your turn. And with that inspiration, I turned toward what is out there that could really help me, because Western medicine wasn't going to be able to do it. They got nothing in their arsenal that's going to do anything for me. There has to be a way to figure this out. Everything's figure outable. I went really deep down the rabbit hole into the other things that we've talked about in Ascend. First, awareness and mindset, source through breath. Since I've been teaching professionally a very unique form of inner power and hypoxic breath work worldwide for 27 years, I doubled down on that. The C for the center point reset, which that came a little bit later than this diagnosis. E for Eat to Thrive. I immediately cleaned up my diet. And then N for new frequency technologies. Now, Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in the terms of, and I'm paraphrasing, frequency, energy, and vibration. Okay. And I may have gotten that wrong, but that's what he said in a nutshell. And it's very true. So I was like, okay, there are all these different things. And I know a lot of people in my circle who are into the progression of health, healing, regeneration, and human potential, biohacking, and longevity. I want more longevity. I don't know if anybody out there can relate to that how would it be to have less or no pain, to be happier and have more energy and live a longer, more fulfilling life? I think every single person out there would like that, and so do I. And so I put out a GoFundMe campaign, and it wasn't very long before I started getting feedback. We'll put it that way. Offers to assist. People who had Rife frequency machines, people from Frequency Foundation, people who were energy healers, people from Dr. Joe Dispenza's healing groups, people from Master Ko and Pranic Healing and Master Ko himself. So many people around the world sending me Reiki, sending me prayer energy, sending me quantum healing. It's so heartwarming. It's so emotional for me. And then one friend called me up and she just said, Nate, we got you. And I was like, what are you talking about? You got me. She said, we got you. We're going to get this tumor. We're going to take care of it. And I'm like, okay. So I'm very intrigued at this point, as I'm sure anybody would be. And so I said, Tiff, what do you mean? And she said, I work for one of the most brilliant biochemists in the world. And we have a very unique form of laser and stem cell therapy that no one else in the world has. And we want to see you as soon as possible because we've had reports from our patients of tumors and cancers disappearing completely. Now, she wasn't saying we do this. She was saying our patients have reported, right? And they have. And there are many testimonials of this. I said, okay, I'm getting on a flight as soon as possible to come see you. So I flew to Tulsa, Oklahoma, of all places, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Petra, I underwent what I can only really describe as a Star Trek level treatment, where kind of like in Star Trek with the tricorder, they turn it on and they go, okay, everything's fixed. It was almost like that. Now, I understand the deep science of it because since then, I have actually become a business partner with this gentleman to bring in our new Ascended Living program for people who have very, we'll say, challenging tissue issues, but also mental issues as well. If there's a TBI or Alzheimer's, it's incredible what we've seen do with this. After I had my treatment, I came back home and I continued on with the very strict diet. I continued on with the exercise every day. When your life is on the line, you don't skip a day, right? Even leg day. I still do leg day, even though I don't like leg day. And then in late June, my soul partner, my cosmic co-pilot, Jemaya, who hopefully you all remember from the last 2 episodes ago in C for Center Point Reset. She is the master center point resetter literally on the planet. 5 years ago, she had a traumatic brain injury from a bicycle accident in Amsterdam, and it left her with what she guessed was about 50% of her former brain function as far as memory, speed of thinking, being able to hold thought, being able to be around multiple stimuli, dizziness, all kinds of things. 50% after 5 years of doing everything with the neuroscience community and everything from homeopathy, holistically, you name it, she did it. It got her back to about 50%. So she came to Tulsa with me and with my mom, actually. I took my mom there for the stenosis and the pain in her back. And after about 11 weeks, she was back to 100% brain function. So from a traumatic brain injury that lasted over 5 years to 11 weeks of this treatment, this once for 2 hours, did this treatment once, took some supplements, serums every day, like a couple teaspoons. That was it. In 11 weeks, she's back to 100%. So with me, I went that time in June and I got another treatment. But the cool thing is that I'm so glad I got this done. 2 days before, I had a MRI, and it showed that the tumor was a similar size. We didn't know what was happening as far as whether it was alive or dead, but it was about similar size. So I go 2 days later, I get my treatment. 2 hours, we're out of there. And 5 weeks later, I went and I got a PET scan, which is another kind of scan that looks at the tumor. And the tumor had decreased in size by over 50%. This is a rock solid tumor, everybody. This is not one of those little jello things. This is like dropping a marble into pudding. How do you erode that? And yet it went down by over 50%. And I just had another treatment about 2 weeks ago, and I have another PET scan coming up in 3.5 weeks and another MRI at the same time, same day. And so I'm knocking on wood that we went from 22 millimeters originally down to 10 millimeters and now to 0 millimeters. We're going to see.
That is the best news that I heard you when you shared that tumor was shrinking. And I feel when you have this inner sense that you can trust yourself, as you had that inner voice speaking to you saying, you got this. I feel this is such an important basis for when we come into these challenges, very often completely unprepared, unexpected. But yet, if there is this voice inside that says, you got this, you have these abilities within you to do this, I feel that's a huge part of our healing journey. That was the first step, the first beginning of your healing journey there too. And I feel for our listeners, this is maybe something important for them to tap into as well before they have to decide what treatments do we want, which options do we want to try out. In that moment of stillness where you said, right after you receive a diagnosis like that, there's this moment maybe where you're just like, oh God, I don't know what to do. And in that, if you find that trust in yourself and you find that little voice, I think that already will give you a lot of that resilience going forward and a lot of that innate wisdom that you have as you come through that. And then, as you said, you start changing diet, you start adding exercise, you start looking at different technologies and approaches that are available. I feel that inner wisdom will guide you on that as well. And of course, I'm very curious about the treatment that you're talking about, the frequencies, because it just seems so simple. If you describe this like a Star Trek experience, it seems so simple. Okay, we use some frequencies, we do some things, and it works so incredibly well. It just makes me really wonder why we overcomplicate things so much and don't just tap into that healing that the body obviously can offer when we allow it to. Have you found that as well on your journey, that you were surprised at how simple some of these things seemed and yet they worked so incredibly well? And what do you think of that?
That all depends on your perspective, Petra. So as far as simple, receiving the treatments, very simple. Creating those, like the people who created it, even have a clue. That is not simple. That is people with a much higher IQ than I have in frequency and radionics and stem cells and laser technology. I'm like, whatever. Does it work? And really, it's like a light switch. We may not need to know how the entire building is wired and where all the fuse boxes are and what every single volt or amp is, as long as we can turn on the light and the lights come on. Let the master electricians do that. Not many of us out there are probably master electricians or master plumbers or whatever, but we all make use of these technologies. So yes, I do understand on a deeper level than most people by a long shot the processes that go into these, but I'm not going to bore the audience talking about those. Instead, what I'll say is imagine that there was a technology now available that harnessed the healing power of stem cells that have always been in your body since you were born, that got shut off and went dormant 24 hours after you took your first breath. Now you've got billions of these perfect cells that are actually day zero cells. Now just imagine that they'd been within you the entire time, and finally someone had discovered how to turn them on, activate them, and then guide them to exactly where your body needs them so that they can do their job. That technology now exists. To understand that a little bit, the person who discovered how to activate these, they're called V cells, VSEL, which is very small, embryonic-like. The person who discovered how to activate this is named Dr. Todd Ovakaitis. And Dr. Todd is a dear friend of mine. He's not the one who's done these treatments for me, but he was nominated last year for the Nobel Prize in Medicine for his work with V cells and discovering how to actually turn them on. We've known for a long time that they're there, but if that's okay, you can know something's there, but if you can't use it, then it's just there. He's the one who found out how to turn it on and how to start guiding and directing it. Now, fast forward to the person that I've been working with, named Ian Mitchell. Now, Dr. Todd's technology is amazing, and he's certified a lot of different doctors, and a lot of doctors are looking at this as the future of stem cell medicine. And imagine going a light year or two beyond that. So Ian, being a master at laser technology since he was 8 years old, building his own lasers, he found out how to not only activate one kind of the V cell, but many, and then how to deposit them where they need to go, rather than just saying, let's say you have something in, okay, use my head for an example. Let's say I have a brain tumor, which I do have a brain tumor this time, on my spinal cord, on my, right there in between the cerebellum and the brainstem. All right, so with the other technology that exists out there, they would just shine the light and it would go into your brain and it would just put stem cells in your brain. General area. Ion is the only one that can actually go into and deposit those things right where they need to go, at what depth they need to go to focus on exactly where they need to go. There's no other technology that does this. And so when it does, he does it on me, it feels very warm and bubbly inside my head, which is awesome. The way the process works, for people who out there who are like, okay, how does it work? It's as simple as having an IV done. Now, some other stem cells therapies out there called Muse. They go into your bone. They drill into your bone and they pull out bone marrow and they take the stem cells from that. And if you're 40, those are 40-year-old. They've been aged 40 years. They're not day zero perfect stem cells. So there are some limitations to Muse. And plus, drilling into your bone, no thanks. I'm going to pass on that. I've already had the spinal tap. I don't want a bone drill. This one's as simple as having an IV. They just take out some blood. They extract the blood cells from the plasma. Then they use this special laser with these certain frequencies to activate these different V cells by shining it on your plasma. Then they add in a bunch of exosomes, which are carrier or signal messengers that help the stem cells do even more. And then they put them back in your body. It's literally a 45-minute to an hour process total. Doesn't hurt at all. And then all those V cells, they were activated with the laser. Let's say it's 600 hertz. Whatever, I don't know. I'm not a frequency guy. So let's say it's 600 hertz. They're all now buzzing at 600 hertz. Whenever he shines a laser on your body, wherever it says 600 hertz, they all go through the circulatory system to that place and they sit there. Any other kind of stem cell, they're looking at aged cells, or you're going to be looking at embryonic cells, which are not yours. Your body tends to kill a lot of them in rejection. And those are general. They just put them in your body and they float around. And hopefully they'll, help your hair not be gray anymore or whatever it is. And hopefully go to that area. Maybe they might inject them directly into your ankle that needs healing. But imagine if you didn't need so many stinking needles. And imagine if the treatments were actually more effective. And imagine if they were a quarter, maybe a half to a fifth the price of a normal stem cell treatment you'd get from any other doctor. So less expensive, more effective, goes right through the blood-brain barrier so people with brain conditions like myself actually can get that there. The other kinds of stem cells don't go through the blood-brain barrier. If you have a brain tumor, you're screwed. Just saying. There are a lot of benefits to these cells. And I like also the fact that it's really painless. I've had enough poking and prodding and blood draws and spinal taps and all kinds of stuff going on in my life since March 3rd. I don't really like to think about any more needles or cutting. So this is lickety-split, and it shrunk the tumor by more than 50% after that treatment, and I'm looking for a lot more. And this has been very instrumental in my losing 88 pounds in 5 months and gaining muscle and having perfect blood markers. And literally, Smart Scale says I've reversed my age by 21 years, my metabolic and biological age. So for anybody interested in going back in time, we got something for you too.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for sharing the details on that. I was wondering, because I spoke to some other doctors that do stem cell treatments and it sounded very painful. So I'm glad that you mentioned that the treatment actually is fairly painless. And I would think that when you come to a point where you receive a diagnosis like that, there are a lot of medical tests already and a lot of blood tests and scans, as you said. So finding something where you can still stay in your healing space without too much going on, I think that's really beneficial as well. And yes, incorporates a simple principle of frequency, so simply said, and yet has these absolutely incredible effects and outcomes. Wow. As you said, it needs to be accessible and affordable as well, because many people, when they receive a diagnosis, are already struggling with paying for all the medical tests and scans that they have to go through. I feel this is also just a very realistic and practical and logistical point, is when it comes to some of these treatments that are available, they're very often out of reach for people, even though they could probably benefit from them financially, they're just out of reach. So I really like the idea that they're working on treatments that more people can access so that more and more people can actually experience these benefits in their lives. I think that is absolutely fantastic. And how did that work with your GoFundMe? So did these treatments then, they got covered by your GoFundMe, so that was part of the experience? Or can our listeners, if they're needing support like that, is that a good way to go if you're needing some financial support with medical treatments?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things. Yes, absolutely. When I put out my GoFundMe campaign originally back in March, there was a very strong amount of support reaching out to my friends and my networks, my tribes. And that's really what has enabled me to get to this point. Yes, absolutely. The supplements have been expensive. The doctor's visits have been expensive. All the things have been expensive. The travel's been there. But the things that can you really put a price on your life? I mean, if anybody does, that's really sad, honestly, because wow, I'm just happy I get up every day. And we also, at Ascended Living, the company that Jemiah and Ian have formed together, the program for us to help people on every level, not just this frequency technology, but all the other things we've covered in Ascend. And we're able to really we have payment plans to make it more affordable for people so that they can actually do it, whether they have a GoFundMe or not. But that was, for me, a very big part of my ability to receive these treatments. And I was very hesitant. I was very hesitant to ask for help. I was from that kind of household where you don't ask for help. You do it all yourself and you carry the weight for other people too. So for me, it was scary to put that out there. And then it was so relieving when I went, oh, wow, people out there care and they've got me and they're donating and they're sharing this. And wow, okay. And that's really what has allowed me to do this. So I would encourage anybody out there who has a serious diagnosis or prognosis, yes, look at these crowdfunding options. Look at what maybe grants may be available to you. I don't know if there are or not, but I can say that if you don't ask, you don't receive. It's worth it. And then to reach out to us to see what we can do with financing to help you. At Ascended Living, our main mission is to help people, like I mentioned before, reduce or eliminate their physical pain, to have more energy, and to live longer, more fulfilling lives in health. It's very difficult when you don't feel like you've actually got healing on your side, and make no mistake about it. Medical does not mean health. They are not synonymous with one another. Your body heals. Medicine doesn't heal anything. It might deal with an infection or a broken bone and things like this, yes. But a lot of the time, and I think we understand, it's a Band-Aid. And if you're trying to plug a dam with your finger, there's going to be another hole and another hole. And that's just the way that works. So it's better to, in this case, with the V cells, to regenerate the body, go in and build a new dam, a more modern one. And that's what I feel like it's doing for me. I'm 20 years younger as far as how I feel and how I look. And the scale, smart scale says metabolically, that's the way it is. My body fat hasn't been this low since I was in high school. My weight hasn't been this low, but I have about 15 pounds more muscle than I did when I started all this journey back in March. Working for me, and there's nothing special about me. My body's just like everybody else's body. That's why we do what we do, is to help people who need that, really want that support in revitalizing their body to do so in ways that they never thought possible. So I've been the guinea pig, and I continue to be. And what can I say? It's working.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jemiah also, with her brain injury, right? I feel there are a lot of positive things that you and her can talk about with that. And I love the ripple effects that come from an approach like that. You don't just say, okay, we're working on this tumor, but your body itself is really regenerating. So you are also having many other benefits that support healing in that sense, right? If you're dropping body fat and you are becoming healthier, all those things are supporting your healing journey in that as well. So yeah, this is absolutely amazing. And I'm curious because you had said that N is the new frequency technologies. Is this the only technology that you experienced on this journey, or are there other things that you experienced as well that we can share with our listeners?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, a lot of energy healing, shamanic work, then also Rife, which is RIFE, which Raymond Royal Rife was a scientist back in the earlier part of the 20th century who was able to literally reverse cancers using different frequencies. Then his information was taken and destroyed or sequestered by the US government because, oh, no, we can't have that. We can't possibly have real cures out there. But there is a resurgence of these machines now where you can actually buy them. There are so many different programs for so many different tissue issues with the Rife machine that it's incredible. So I would recommend people, if you can find a Rife practitioner around you, by all means. The Frequency Foundation, they do remote Rife frequencies. So they'll actually take a picture of your palms, of your face, of your feet, and they will actually tap into your individual signal, if you will, like a radio. It's a radio station. You have your own radio station. So they tap into that. So no matter where you are in the world, they send that, and it sends the information through the quantum to you, wherever you are, which is beautiful. Massage therapy, Reiki, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Power of 8 healing, chronic healing. I went through a lot of those different things. For me, they were great on an energetic and quantum level. I could feel them working. But the reason I really focus on the PPTV cell treatment that we have with Ascended Living is because that's the one that actually showed definitive results on the MRI and PET scan, because that showed, okay, it actually did the thing. The other things were before that, and there wasn't a lot of change in the tumor size. Now, it doesn't mean the tumor wasn't dying and it was not growing anymore, and we couldn't see that part. But I didn't actually see a huge drop in the size until I did the PPTV cells. I like to really say it's all healthy. It's all good. It may work for you. And I really want to share the one that I know 100% is saving my life.
Yeah, and that is the curious thing, right? Is that we don't know what all of these approaches are doing, and maybe they were an underlying part of what happened later. It's definitely best to try whatever you can try that works on the energy, that works on the frequencies, and see how that does for you. And I'm very curious, because of this V-cell treatment had such a great effect on you, what other things can listeners work with a treatment like that? You mentioned your mother's pain, for example, and traumatic brain injury. What are some of the common things that this gets work with? I feel like this is maybe something that our listeners might not be fully familiar with yet or have heard about yet. What are some of the common things that maybe even in your Ascendant Living program that you come across that people have success with this?
Okay, so I'm going to put this out there as a disclaimer. I am not a medical professional. We do not promise healing at all. And we want to make sure that we're clear of the governmental agencies that really regulate that, and bless their soul. They're there to make sure that people don't get snake oil salesmen. It's very important that people also understand that they also sometimes block information from getting out to people who really need it, that could be receiving support and help and actually doing the thing for what they're dealing with. So I'm going to frame this as the reports have been across the board, not 100%, but reports have come in with people who have cancers, Alzheimer's, dementia, type 1 diabetes, Parkinson's, TBIs or concussions, congestive heart failure, cardiac arrest recovery, chronic kidney disease, cataracts, macular degeneration, glaucoma, and they're working on long COVID as well. There have been some really good reports with that. So those are some of the different tissue issues that when people have gotten this PPTV cell treatment for another reason, that improved. They report that it had improved, or in a lot of cases, gone away. That's a list of the biggest major ones, right? For me, brain tumor. For Jemiah, TBI. We both swear by this because we've got the evidence. But for me, there was something else. And I shared this with the group that we're in, which is color blindness. I've been colorblind since I was born. It was genetic. But I had seen a video of somebody who got a PPTV cell treatment who they're sitting there, no way, that's red and that's green. And they looked at a poster with M&Ms and they said, the M&Ms are all different colors. And people in the lab were just like, yeah, What? Wait. Whoa, wow, you've been colorblind? My last treatment in Tulsa a couple of weeks ago, from when this is recorded, I actually took some of the colorblind tests with the dots that I couldn't see. I taped them up on the wall and I recorded a video, which you can see on my YouTube channel, on my Facebook page, on Instagram, that I couldn't see these things. And then I got the PPT B cell treatment. And right after it was done, I said, I don't remember, like 73, 16, 7, and I could actually see the numbers. My color blindness reversed. It was wild. And coming back here to Utah in the autumn, in the fall time with all the leaves, I was like, why didn't anybody tell me all these colors were here? You couldn't, right? That's something that's genetic. So to have the V cells go in there and actually restructure something that should have been a lifelong condition, I can attest that was freaking amazing. And granted, that's not nearly as severe as congestive heart failure or kidney disease, but for me, it makes a big difference. And so that was something else that was just really poignant, that this works. Now, does it do all the things for everybody? No. Does anything do everything for anybody? No. Is any one treatment going to be the panacea for every single thing in the entire world, bar none? No. But the thing is that if it's you and you have a tissue issue and you're facing in the United States possibly hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in bills and insurance and needle prods and surgeries and time lost from work, and really not enjoying your life because you're in pain, wouldn't it be worth it to at least step into a realm that would not cost you nearly as much in your time, in your money, and in your life? Wouldn't it be worth it? That's why Jemiah and I do what we do. It's because we want everybody to have the longest, happiest, healthiest, pain-free lives we can. That's where our mission is with Ascended Living, is to help people get to that better feeling place.
Yeah, and I feel there's a timeline to this too, right? You've shared that you have had 2 appointments so far. And I don't know how many appointments Jemiah had. You said 11 weeks, but just 1 appointment. Yeah. So for me, there's also the sense of this works, whatever it does, fairly quickly. You don't need to spend 20 rounds of chemotherapy or anything to that extent. These are very timely approaches, and they work, from what I can see with yourself, also very quickly. There is a trade-off when these diagnoses come, that a lot of the times when we're dealing with chronic issues or terminal issues, there actually is a long time spent in various treatments and approaches. This, to me, also, from what you've been saying, seems like this works a lot quicker and more efficiently.
Yeah. So there's a saying that I live by that I have forever. That's why I've been doing the breath work and teaching people how to become literally superhuman for so long. Those people who don't make time for their health now will make time for their illness later. Period. Full stop. And none of us is here forever. There's a really good blues song out there that if you've never heard it, it's actually really good if you like the blues. It's by Albert King, and the title is Everybody Wants to Go to Heaven, but Nobody Wants to Die. For people who are in pain, for people who have chronic illnesses, a lot of the time they may feel like they're in hell. None of us like pain. None of us like knowing that the seconds hand on the clock is ticking. It's one thing to know we're only here for a certain amount of time. It's another thing to see the countdown, people. And when you get that, do everything you possibly can in order to stay alive. Why not do something that's faster, that's easier, that's less invasive, that really doesn't inconvenience your life nearly as much? And granted, I'm not saying don't do the chemo and the radiation, those things. If your doctor says to do those, by all means, please do those. But these V-cell PPT treatments, they won't interfere with that. And so why not hit it from a different angle as well? And for certain things, it's not a chemo and radiation thing. Certain things, there is just no real medical option there. So what you going to do? You can go the herbal route and eat apricot seeds and take all the walnuts and whatever you're going to do. Great. And I really think that the military solution works out great, especially when it's a peaceful military solution, not the battleships, which is really the chemo radiation surgical route. That's like the battleships and destroyers. Hopefully your body can recover after those things. That's really the hope. With the V cell PPT or the PPT V cells, your body will recover because you're giving it all these healing things already inside you. So no rejection. And your body will also take them to other places where you may not even know they're needed, but your body will use them. And you get some side benefits like no more gray hair and your hair grows out black again. Actually, there was a guy that reported that. He's like in his 90s. He started growing his hair. He got one of these things. And his hair came in black again. Because the body knows where it wants to go back into balance. So now, granted, this is not substitute for hair replacement or anything like that. But I'm saying, who knows? But I can tell you this. In today's very toxic age with poisonous water, food, air, EMFs, Wi-Fi, our own thoughts, social media with dopamine addiction, there's all these things, right? Microplastics are everywhere. Wouldn't it be awesome just to give yourself the very best fighting chance to be truly healthy? Because things aren't looking so good as far as what our body's taking in that weren't even there 20 years ago. We're going to a new era of pollution. So we actually need a new era of health and regeneration. We need it. We're here for you. Ascended.living all day long.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. And I wanted to ask you one more thing. For our international listeners, do they have to take themselves to Oklahoma if they would like to experience this, even if they're working with you through Ascendant Living? Is this something, you said blood draw, and that I'm figuring that it has to be something they do in person, but you also mentioned other, like the Rife, that could probably be done at distance. So are there things that they can start with, even if they maybe can't get themselves to the United States or to Oklahoma at the moment? Are there things with that particular treatment that they can start with, or is that just all in person?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Petra. So overall, for the Ascended Living program, we have the full Ascended Living program, which includes the PPT V cells. We also have the Ascension Protocol, which is Jemiah's work and my work I'm a body code certified practitioner. She's the master of the center point reset. We give numerous private lessons and group classes to help actually get to the root cause of where these tissue issues came from, because that's most important. You can get rid of the disease, but if it was caused on a quantum or an etheric or a mental level, well, you're just going to create it again, right? So we have to get to the root, and we heal the root so the rest of the tree can heal too. And then we do the PPTV cells. Now, to answer your question for the PPTV cells themselves, we have some options for everyone. Let's say you're in Europe. We'll come to Europe. We just need a group of 15 people or more willing to do that. If you're interested, if you're a medical practitioner, you're a holistic practitioner, you're a very good networker, and you would like to have us come there, please let us know. We'll start setting it up so that we can actually bring all the equipment there and do it there for you. Otherwise, the other option is to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and to do it in person there until we really get to Star Trek level and we can beam our blood from one place to another. There's a transporter. Then we're not going to be able to do that. But for the people that are interested in, say, Rife frequencies, I would recommend Frequency Foundation. So frequencyfoundation.com. There you'll get the remote Rife frequencies. That amazing healing. There are some other things as well, which I actually have a new guide coming out, which is the Ascend guide. And it'll be right on our website, which is ascended.living. And it's going to be in the drop-down menu there. So you're going to be able to go right into the free resources. When it pops up, you'll have all these different free things that you can have as a gift from us. One of them will be the Ascend Guide. And it's going to have more of this in there so that you'll be able to see, wow, there's a lot of different options here. Hands down, the PPTV cell is the most powerful that I found. And it's also not as convenient as some of the other ones. However we can help and really support you out there, let us know. We're here for you. And the Frequency Foundation would be my second go-to.
It almost sounds like we need to do a PPTV cell retreat in Europe. If listeners are interested in that, please reach out. If you live here in the European Union or even in the UK, and this is something that you would benefit from, something that you're interested in, reach out to Anaez or reach out to the podcast, reach out to myself as well. And if we could do a retreat for people who would be interested in that as well, I feel like there could be a huge benefit to that if we all came together with that. And I'm also wondering, because a lot of the things that you're explaining, especially already in all the other parts that we've talked about, these to me also seem like they could be very beneficial, even if you don't have a diagnosis of anything in particular wrong with you. When you're talking about, for example, the breath work, or you're talking about your awareness and mindset, you're talking about clean eating, and you're talking about, for example, a lot of the frequency work that you did outside of the resale treatment, it seems to me that these are good things even if we don't have a terminal or chronic or very grave diagnosis.
1,000%. Absolutely. So people who are biohackers or longevity enthusiasts, you want to be here on the planet for longer. Yes, every single one of these, especially I'll be completely partial and biased, the breath work, because we don't get through life without breathing. And most people breathe so incorrectly, it's actually damaging to their health, where there are about 200 different health issues that have been linked directly to improper breathing. So yes, you're breathing. Sure, you can also sit there and flounder in the water and say you're swimming. And yeah, you can swim for a long time just treading water. We want to actually get you doing the butterfly or the freestyle or the backstroke. We want you to be able to cruise through the water. There are certain things that do certain things, right? Not just tread in the water and splash and once in a while feel like you're drowning and then get your head above the water. That's not a life. So the breath work is really the most powerful part. And then the center point reset. And those can be found with my body code sessions, which we'll talk about more. We talked a bit about it in E for Eat to Thrive, but we'll talk about it more in the next one, which is Decode Your Body and know what's going on inside. Get a window to the inside, kind of look under the hood of the car. These things are available on our website under offers. So people can go and take a look at those. And for anybody that's interested in getting to the root of traumas, of psychological issues, generational traumas, inherited things, that's the Ascension Protocol. Jemaya and I have been doing this for a combined total of about, she's 14, I'm at 27, so 30, well over 40 years combined between the two of us professionally. That's a lot of experience for two people so young to have. So we've devoted our lives to this, and we really devote our lives to the people that we work with to support them.
So for our listeners, Anaez, can they join your Ascendant Living program even if they don't have anything specifically wrong with them at the moment, or no diagnosis, or they don't have anything that they're concerned with, let's say, at the moment? Can they still join?
Without a doubt. If you're human, you're alive, you're breathing, yes, absolutely. This just improves every single aspect of your life. It really does. So if that's something that is interesting to anybody out there, please reach out. If you don't have a terminal diagnosis, great. That's wonderful. Congratulations. Trust me, it's not all that. You don't want one. But so this is for anybody, especially if you're an athlete or if you're an executive who's highly stressed all the time, you're breaking your body down. You just are. That's just the way it works. So it's important to rebuild it back up, and your mind too. So this is for anybody, Petra.
Amazing. And we'll be sure to link up to the offers and also the Ascendant Living program in the show notes as well. So listeners, don't wait until there's something wrong or that you're gravely ill or you've received a terminal diagnosis. Now is the time to take care of ourselves, to take care of our bodies, our minds, our energetic systems. I highly recommend that you pop over to the show notes and have a look at all the amazing things and all the amazing ways that you can also utilize the resources that we've been talking about in the Ascend series. Thank you, Anaez, for joining me again today. I'm almost sad we only have one more part left to talk about. So I feel this has gone by so quickly, and so much wonderful information for our listeners to connect with and to look up. And as you hinted, our sixth and final part is going to be the letter D next time, decode your body. I very much look forward to that too. I feel like the final piece that needs to come into the puzzle. So thank you again for joining me today. And listeners, thank you for tuning in. Come back and listen in for the next and last part, D for decode your body. And I'll hand it over to you, Anaez, for just wrapping up our time together today. Thank you.
Oh, and Petra, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And thank you, everyone who's been listening to this series, or even just this episode. Please go back and listen. Every single one of these is a different aspect of our wellness and our well-being and our longevity. It's not continued from one leads to the next. No, these actually individually, each of them can be the crux of your new healing journey. I hope this has been valuable for all of you when you come back and listen again. To reach out to me and to Jemaya, and we would love to have a European PPT conference for sure. We're actually setting one up in Amsterdam or in Germany. So reach out to us about that because it's coming soon. We'd love to have it. But to find out more, if you go to ascended.living, that's the whole website address, ascended.living, then you're going to be able to actually see my personal digital card. You can save all my information, but you'll go right to the Ascended Living site. And when you do, you'll be able to see testimonials. You'll be able to see what these programs actually entail because they are incredibly hands-on. They're not pay a bunch of money and then come watch web recordings. No, these are very much hand-holding. They are very much direct support one-on-one with people because we realize how serious this is for a lot of people. And I also realize that a lot of people are just thrown into the pile. The American medical system, you're just another number. You're not just another number to us. You're another very infinite, valuable, beautiful soul on this planet who deserves every single opportunity to achieve wellness. And we're here to help and support you doing that. So just want to let you know, the people we work with are our family, our soul family. And we're all here just walking each other home. So ascended.living, come check the whole thing out. Get a free gift. Reach out to us, how we can support you. We're here. And with that said, can't wait for the next episode. Thanks again, Petra.
Amazing. Thank you so much for this beautiful wrap up. Take care, everyone. Be well, and we'll see you for the final part D next week. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Jōrni Podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Jōrni on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejorni.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.